Per the State of California, Executive Order N2920, this meeting is being held telephonically. All public comments were received either by email or via voicemail as noted within the agenda. Council, please mute your microphones until called upon for comment or vote. Mayor, I'm now passing the mic over to you.
Thank you, Ashley. I'll now call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Smith?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Davies?
Here.
Councilmember Wiggins?
Here.
Councilmember Pokencourt?
Here.
Councilmember Scrivener?
Here.
City Treasurer Curry?
Here.
City Clerk Marsh?
Here.
All elected officials are present telephonically.
Thank you. If you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll go to the consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine and non-controversial by city staff. Consent items will be considered. First, it may be approved by one motion if no member of the council or audience wishes to comment or ask questions. If comment or discussion is desired by anyone, the item will be removed from consent and be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the city council concerning the item before it is taken. Were there any public comments regarding consent agenda items that should be removed?
There were 0 comments received by email and 0 by voicemail.
Thank you. Would you poll the council, please, to see if they would like anything removed?
Councilmember Pokencourt?
None for me, thank you.
Councilmember Scrivener?
No, thank you.
Councilmember Wiggins?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Davies?
No.
Mayor Smith?
No, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I so move.
And I will second it. Davies?
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Pokencourt?
Yes.
Councilmember Scrivener?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiggins?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davies?
Yes.
Mayor Smith?
Yes.
It was a 5-0 vote for approval of the consent agenda.
Thank you. Our audience oral and written communications per the State of California Executive Order 9, or make that N-29-20. Do we have any public comments?
There were 0 comments received by email and 0 by voicemail.
All right, thank you. Item number 5, advertise planning commission appointments due to the expiration of Charles White, Steve Hamlin, and Daryl Christensen positions. Our administrative manager, Ashley Whitmore, will now give the report.
Thank you, Honorable
Ashley.
Mayor and council members. As the Mayor stated, we have an expiration of term for commissioners Charles White, Daryl Christensen, and Steve Hamlin on the Tehachapi Planning Commission. So we're asking that the City Council direct staff to advertise for the 3 positions with terms to expire on June 30th, 2025. The plan is to have those appointed at the second meeting in June.
All right. Were there any public comments on this item?
There were 0 comments received by email and 0 by voicemail.
And then would you poll the council for any comments?
Councilmember Pokencourt?
What is the process about nominating the candidates, since that's not what we're doing tonight? We're just approving the application for these people. So they apply, and then could you explain that, please?
So tonight, what we're asking you to do is to direct us to advertise for the positions. From there, we will have a period that will probably be open till about mid-June for them to apply for the position. So we do have an application for appointment. Whoever applies, those applications will be in your packet for, like I said, the second meeting in June. And then the council will be able to nominate whomever they'd like from that bunch that has submitted applications. Is that kind of what you're looking for?
Yeah, exactly what I'm looking for. Thank you so much.
Not a problem.
Okay.
Councilmember Scrivener?
None for me.
Councilmember Wiggins?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Davies?
No.
Mayor Smith?
And none for me also. Do I have a motion to direct staff to advertise for the 3 positions for the Tehachapi Planning Commission with terms to expire on June 30th, 2025? Do I have a
I'll
motion?
make that motion as presented.
I'll second.
Or second.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Pogencourt?
Yes.
Councilmember Scrivener?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiggins?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davies?
Yes.
Mayor Smith?
Yes.
It was a 5-0 vote to direct staff to advertise for the 3 positions for the Tehachapi Planning Commission with terms to expire on June 30th, 2025.
Thank you. Item number 7, disbursements and bills for RSI Petroleum.
Mayor Smith, this is Mayor Pro Tem Davies. I need to recuse myself because I'm an employee of RSI Petroleum.
Thank you. Let the record show as such. Were there any public comments on this item?
There were 0 comments received by email and 0 by voicemail.
And poll the council, please, for comment.
Councilmember Pogencourt?
None for me, thank you.
Councilmember Scrivener?
None for me.
Councilmember Wiggins?
No.
Mayor Smith?
And none for me. Do I have a motion to approve the disbursements and bills for RSI Petroleum?
I'll make a motion to approve the disbursements of bills for RSI Petroleum.
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Pogencourt?
Yes.
Councilmember Scrivener?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiggins?
Yes.
Mayor Smith?
Yes.
It was a 4-0 vote for approval of the disbursements and bills for RSI Petroleum with a recusal from Councilmember Davies.
Thank you. Item number 9, second reading and adoption of an ordinance regarding video service providers. Our Economic Development Coordinator, Corey Costello, will now give the report. Corey?
Thank you, Mayor Smith and council members. This evening, as you mentioned, we will be discussing the adoption of the ordinance. It was actually introduced back on April 5th. We presented language to the proposed ordinance repealing Chapter 5.20 of the Tehachapi Municipal Code and ordinance number 97-03-634 regarding cable TV franchises and state franchise video services. The intent of this new ordinance is to not only exercise the city's regulatory authority regarding cable and video service providers, but also get us up to speed with federal and state law, including the Digital Infrastructure and Video Competition Act of 2006 in the state of California. That established a state franchise system that is administered by the Public Utilities Commission, and also it does limit a little bit the city's regulatory and enforcement powers, but it does allow us to continue to accept franchise fees as well as institute the public and government access fee of 1% of their gross revenue. So that was the first reading a few weeks back, and the summary of the ordinance was both introduced on April 5th, 2021, and a summary as required was published in the Tehachapi News 10 days prior to introduction. Just again, the intent of the public educational and government programming fee will to support the development of government and educational programming aired on a dedicated City of Tehachapi government channel operated by a video service provider. So again, we'll continue to collect the percentages in alignment with the provisions of DIVCA along with the additional 1% for programming. So this evening, the recommendation will be to adopt an ordinance of the City of Tehachapi repealing Chapter 5.20 of the Tehachapi Municipal Code and ordinance number 97-03-634 in their entirety regarding cable television franchise and state-funded video service providers, and replace it with the proposed. And if you have any questions at this time, I'll be happy to answer them.
Were there any public comments?
There were 0 comments received by email and 0 by voicemail.
And would you poll the council, please, for comments?
Councilmember Pokencourt,
None, thank you.
Councilmember Scrivener,
No, thank you.
Councilmember Wiggins,
None.
Mayor Pro Tem Davies,
No, thank you.
Mayor Smith.
Just one comment. As this subject was broached, I think last year, whatever, we had a lot of information regarding just the aesthetics of is this the same thing regarding the next level of communications where we have unsightly utilities being placed all around town?
No, that's actually going to be my next report to you all. But no, this one is not associated with that. This is just the franchise fees for cable TV providers, internet service providers. We're just basically replacing what's on the books with something that's up to up to the new state standards, and then also establishing this new fee. So the two are unrelated in this case.
Got it. I do see on item 10, we'll be addressing, I guess, what I was asking. All right, then. So with that, go ahead.
So I have a question. Is this only one service provider? Is that at Spectrum? Is that correct, Corey?
Currently, they're the only ones that have the franchise fee, correct. But again, the intent of DIVCA was to increase competition and have the state sort of regulate that. So, and I believe there will be more competition coming to our market. So that's why we felt it was the right time to be able to sort of address this ordinance and update it, because there is potential for additional competition in the market.
Thank you.
Any others? Comments? If not, we'll now take a motion to adopt as already read by title only, if that's okay, Tom. Do I have a motion?
So move.
I will second it.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Pokencourt,
Yes.
Councilmember Scrivener,
Yes.
Councilmember Wiggins,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davies,
Yes.
Mayor Smith.
Yes.
It was a 5-0 vote to adopt an ordinance repealing Chapter 5.20 of the Tehachapi Municipal Code and ordinance number 97-03-634 regarding cable television franchises and state franchised video service providers, and replacing with an ordinance that will establish public, educational, and government access channels, and establish that video service providers pay a PEG access fee of 1% of the video service provider's gross revenues, consistent with federal law.
Thank you. Item number 10, legislative update, Senate Bill 619 regarding organic waste reduction guidelines, and Senate Bill 556 regarding small wireless facilities on utility poles. This is an information item only. Our Economic Development Coordinator, Corey Costello, will now give the report. Corey?
Thank you again, Mayor Smith and council members. The Tehachapi City Council as recently as last year weighed in on a pair of issues relating to small-scale wireless facilities in the city and compliance with mandatory organics recycling programs, also referred to as SB 1383, coming down from the state of California. In the case of the small-cell wireless issue, the city adopted an ordinance in compliance with the Federal Communications Commission to assert local control of the deployment of those facilities in our community. We've yet to receive any requests, but the technology is heading towards what we call that 5G deployment, and we needed to be prepared. In addition, the City Council sent a comment letter to Cal Recycle expressing concerns over the cost increase to our residents for the addition of mandatory organics recycling as part of compliance with SB 1383, adopted several years ago by the state of California. Those comments were received. They did not directly impact the regulations for organic compliance, but Cal Recycle has stated they helped lay the groundwork for delayed enforcement. of those regulations. So there's a couple pieces of recent legislation that came down through the state of California. As a member of the League of California Cities, the city of Tehachapi was made aware of a pair of Senate bills in committee in Sacramento addressing both issues. The city of Tehachapi was asked to send a pair of letters, one in support of SB 619, which solid waste regarding organics, and the other in opposition, unless amended, of SB 556, which dealt with small cell wireless facilities. The letters requested are attached. Copies were provided to each council member after they were drafted and submitted to the state Senate. Both bills have since been amended. I'd like to provide you with an update of their status in the wake of the city's letters. SB 619, that is an act to amend the provisions of that mandatory residential organics recycling, taking into considerations like those that came from this council, which was tough to raise rates in the wake of the economic situation created by COVID-19. The bill aimed at delaying the implementation date of organics recycling until 2024. It's currently set at January 1, 2022. This bill was amended in the Senate on April 13th and sent back to committee. The amended bill does not delay the implementation of SB 1383, but it does codify the provision that would delay any penalties for noncompliance until January of 2023 and only allow the state to penalize jurisdictions not making reasonable effort to comply with regulations. Enforcement of noncompliance will not begin until January of 2024. Currently, as CalRecycle has laid it out, they are delaying the enforcement if jurisdiction does not implement organics by January 1, 2022. That time clock sort of starts when they decide to issue a notice of correction. This bill would basically kind of put it into law that they couldn't really start even issuing those notices of correction until January 2024. So potentially buying jurisdictions like ours who've expressed challenges, not only monetary, but even infrastructure-wise, to deal with this organics recycling, a few more years to implement it and sort of build the foundation. City staff is certainly appreciative of the efforts of Senator John Laird. The amended version does not completely accomplish the goals intended, but gives us a little more time to implement this service. SB 619 has been sent back to the State Senate Environmental Quality Committee for revision and then presentation back to the entire Senate. By the way, and then the other one was SB 556. Was of the most concern to city staff as initially written. This bill would have severely limited the city's ability to control the look, feel, safety, and placement of small cell wireless facilities, commonly referred to as 5G antennas. This was the main premise of the ordinance adopted in 2018. The League of California Cities asked its members to request amendments. This bill was also amended on April 12th, and it was heavily changed. As it's currently written, this bill will allow municipalities to reasonably control the process for small cell wireless permitting in conjunction with the FCC declaratory ruling and third report of order, which came back in September of 2018, which allows us to control aesthetics, safety, and engineering concerns. So there was a little tweak of the timeline in that bill for reasonably, helping out somebody requesting a permit, but it does leave the controls of that the federal government has allowed. The state was intending to sort of bypass those and pretty much mandate that you had to do it on every utility pole you owned, light pole you owned, as long as engineering-wise it was safe. It would have caused a little bit of a problem and stripped us of local control. So that bill, too, as amended, has been sent back to the Senate Energy, Utilities, and Communications Committee. So I'd like to thank the council for their involvement on both issues. It's clear that your leadership in these has helped shape some state policy. We were in contact with our state senator, Shannon Grove, and she was going into the Senate Rules Committee and was just checking on our objection to 556 and if we were happy with the amendments. So it certainly has got some attention in Sacramento. So thank you for that. No actions required tonight. We'll continue to monitor the progress of both these pieces of legislation. But since the council has weighed in previous meetings on both these issues, I thought it was worth an update to you all. And if you have any questions on either issue, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Thank you, Corey. Were there any public comments on this item?
There were 0 comments received by email and 0 by voicemail.
And would you poll the council, please?
Councilmember Pogencourt?
None, thank you.
Councilmember Scrivener?
None, thanks.
Councilmember Wiggins?
No, I don't have any.
Mayor Pro Tem Davies?
No, thank you.
Mayor Smith.
Just the term, Corey, sounds like they're going to allow us to reasonably control. That's pretty open-ended, isn't it?
The state lately, I've noticed, has really liked to use the word reasonably. And so that even came down with the SB 1383 compliance. They say, well, if you're showing a reasonable effort to comply, we won't issue a notice of violation if you don't have your program in place by January 1. So, yes, it's an interesting term. There really was no, even in just checking the text of the bill, no sort of description of what reasonable actually is defined as. But I think a lot of it was just as long as we're following sort of the timeline that says, we have 14 days if somebody comes in to respond to a request. And so they come in for a permit, and we don't have to necessarily grant it in 14 days. We have to give them an answer as to where we're at. And then obviously if there are issues that pop up, whether they be engineering, aesthetics, that sort of thing, we can get more time, but we have to just show progress is really what they're looking at. And we can't be unreasonable with our request to say, yeah, you can put a 5G tower up or a 5G antenna on a street pole, but we'd like it to be, 24 karat gold because that looks cooler. We can't do something like that. So that's kind of where reasonable comes into play.
Some of this equipment is just really not very attractive. I mean, it's just hardware hanging on poles. Is this going to be on every pole?
That was in the initial text of this bill was basically going to force not only the city, but it would have forced, for example, Southern California Edison. They were going to tell utility providers, hey, your poles are fair game. And if somebody comes to you, you have to allow them to co-locate. You can charge them a reasonable fee, but you can't price them out of being on your pole as long as your pole is structurally sound to support that. And so this is going to have an impact on not only what the city controls, the limited street lights that we control, but it was going to impact even utility poles. So I think the trend is going that way. I think the delivery of internet, although right now it's being described as 5G, but I think a lot of service providers are preferring to go down the route of wireless delivery. So the good news is that doesn't have the speed that a fiber optic cable certainly has right now. Technology could change, but I think there are, in larger communities, that's a push because infrastructure costs are a lot less than having to go underground and that sort of thing with actual cable. So that's sort of the trend of the future. As I mentioned, though, we've yet in over a year and a half to receive any actual requests for 5G in our community. But it is something to continue to keep an eye on. I think we have a good ordinance in place for when that day does come.
All right. We'll have to see what happens here. All right. Thank you. Item 11, 2021 Surface Treatment of Residential Streets Project. Our Development Services Director, Jay Swasher, will now give the report. Jay?
Honorable Mayor and Council members, thank you. As you noted, the first item that I have tonight, let me just confirm you all can hear me all right, correct? I'm on my cell phone tonight. Excellent.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. The first item I have for you is the 2021 Surface Treatment of Residential Streets Project for the award. So just as quick background, we're proposing to use SB 1 or Senate Bill 1 funds. As a reminder, that bill was the Road Repair and Accountability Act of 2017, which fundamentally associated additional taxes, gasoline taxes principally, with additional funds for both the state and local agencies for road maintenance and rehabilitation. The city of Tehachapi receives approximately $270,000 each year for a 10-year time period, and the city council approves a list annually of projects that we propose to use the money. And you guys have done that in the past. Perhaps you remember the way that list is not written in stone. We produce that list, and then each year we also have to report to the state what we did or didn't do off of our list. And I believe I reported a few years ago that the staff's belief was that we would have to wait a couple of years to gather up some money in order to take on a project of this nature. So we're here. And we bid the 2021 Surface Treatment of Residential Streets project, which is proposing to add a seal coat rehabilitation to 45 streets within 3 residential areas. There is a map included with my staff report. Advertising began on March 3rd. And we opened bids on March 30th. The bid results are included in your package. I'm happy to report that the bids came in below our engineer estimate. So that's good news. We had anticipated that this project would cost over $300,000, and yet we got a good number of bids and good competitive pricing, which is an indication that we had a good bidding climate and we got a great price. So staff undertook a review of the bids to confirm that the apparent low bidder was responsive. We did conclude that American Asphalt South Incorporated has been deemed responsive. And again, the engineer's estimate actually for the project was $400,000. Funds were allocated from that SB1, which we have already received, and we had anticipated a project total of $490,000. So obviously, we believe that we have sufficient budget to complete the project based upon the bids we received. And so tonight, I'm going to recommend that you award the 2021 surface treatment of residential streets project to American Asphalt South Incorporated in the amount of $238,625.96 and authorize the city manager to approve any necessary change orders up to a maximum of 20% of the original contract. I would note I don't normally ask for a change order budget of 20%. In this case, we do see a couple of opportunities to work with the selected contractor to add a couple of streets to the scope of the project, which is why I'm asking for a little bit more leeway in that regard tonight. So that concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jay. Were there any public comments on this item?
There were 0 comments received by email and 0 by voicemail.
And would you poll the council, please?
Councilmember Pogencourt?
I just have a question. What are the additional streets that were added? If you could tell me, Jay, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, we haven't actually added any yet. I think that we were considering the Arabian Estates area when we were taking a look at places that could receive a seal coat. I would just, so we haven't yet talked to the contractor about it, nor considered the additional square footage in detail. That was the one that comes to mind. Just as a reminder to the council, this is a seal coat project, so only certain streets are going to respond well to that type of treatment. And so that's what staff needs to have a look at first before we sit down with the contractor and consider some additional areas. But that's the street. Those are the ones up Burnett and Arabian and the ones there in the very northeast corner of town.
Okay, thanks. You answered my question. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Councilmember Scrivener?
None for me.
Councilmember Wiggins?
When is this going to happen?
If you all award tonight, we will send out contracts tomorrow. We typically allot 15 days for the contractor to sign contracts and schedule a pre-construction meeting. And my experience is typically 3 to 4 weeks after award is when the contractor mobilizes for construction. So
Okay.
I would expect to see work around the end of May, beginning of June.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor Pro Tem Davies?
I have nothing tonight. Thank you.
Mayor Smith?
Yes. Hi, Jay. Just so in case we're asked, how were these prioritized over other neighborhoods in the community? I'm sure you have a priority list of the worst and the ones that can accept the treatment and those who cannot accept it just because of the type of condition the road is in. Is that correct?
Yeah, excellent question. And that is a common question that we receive, because you'll note from the map that the streets that were selected are relatively new compared to other streets. And I would briefly tell you that conventional engineering wisdom, which I do agree with, is that if you spend money on rehabilitating streets while they're in relatively good shape, the rehabilitation expenses are very low compared to spending money rehabilitating streets that have much more damage. And so programs like the one we're undertaking now do do take opportunities like this to orient funds towards keeping streets that are in average to above average condition in that shape. I mean, we're spending $230,000 and getting 45 streets worth of rehabilitation. This adds somewhere between 5 and 7 years to the life of these roads, whereas that amount of money wouldn't get more than 2 blocks of a full reconstruction of a road. So that's how we made this selection. The other important factor here is that we receive, as the council knows, a number of grants that we aggressively seek every year. Grant money can only be spent on major roads, and therefore we really have very limited funding for non-major roads, i.e. neighborhood streets. And so this money that doesn't have that limitation, we are attempting as staff to focus on the roads that we otherwise don't have a good funding source for. So those 2 factors led to the selection of these streets.
Okay, thank you. The other item, I think we talked about it last year, something I brought it up. And years ago, long time ago, many years ago, we would have you'd see the city crews coming along with a grinding device and oiling behind it, and almost like a repaving situation on city streets that were in really bad shape. Do we ever consider something like that again?
We do each time we consider the type of project. I think you'll see from us here in a couple of months an additional 2 streets where we might do a more aggressive rehabilitation, a grind and an overlay, a process more like the one you're describing. So we have a master database of all the city's streets, and we're regularly monitoring the condition the streets are in, and then associating with that inventory what types of rehabilitation techniques will be effective and which ones are just a waste of money or too much money. And so the answer is yes. I think you'll see something like that from staff here a little later this year. It's money we're considering. I think actually we added it to the mid-year budget to consider Green Street and Mojave in the downtown area. And so, yes, the answer is yes, we do have methods like that, and we're trying to employ the most cost-efficient solution for the given problem.
Well, it's appreciated, and I'm sure we'll all be asked, why not my neighborhood, right?
Yeah, it's a very regular question.
Funding. So we do, yes, you answered my question, thank you. So we do have a little bit of extra funding for some other streets for whatever way you want to do it, sounds like, correct?
Yeah, actually, for the first time, I'd be happy to report, and maybe if the council had further questions for Hannah or Greg on this issue, but for maybe the first time in quite a while, the city's finances have been positioned such that we can spend some additional money on road repair this year. So we're hopeful that we're going to have a successful project to do a couple of additional streets this year beyond what we might normally get with our grant funds.
Okay, that would be great. One last item. We stockpiled grindings from some Caltrans or other local projects, and we stockpiled it over there around the Loves as a berm. Was that temporary, or is that going to be permanent? I thought we were going to use those grindings on some alleys and things.
That's a question I'll need to defer to Don. I don't know if he's on tonight. I know we did talk about an alleyway project. Those grindings out there, we placed to deal with, frankly, a sort of significant parking problem, off-street illegal parking problem we're having out there. So I know we had other grindings stockpiled in other locations that we were considering for an alley project. I don't know off the top of my head the status of that project, Mayor. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm online.
Go ahead,
Don. Let me answer that. Yes, Jay's correct. Those are not necessarily stockpiled. Those are windrowed in order to prevent trucks from going off-road on Tehachapi Boulevard and on Stuber and getting stuck in the mud, essentially. So that's the purpose of those, and the intent is for those to stay there until the property is developed. We do have an abundance of grindings, though, at the Public Works facility, and we use those regularly in the alleys for backfilling and grading. We did have a project at one time to do some more extensive reuse of those through a kind of a rehabilitation process that they wanted to try. It was really kind of determined that wasn't the best application and that it probably would not be successful, so we decided not to spend the money on that. So that's kind of where we're at.
Oh, so the grindings won't be used at all?
Well, we're using them, but again, we're not using them for paving per se. We're putting them down to fill in ruts and potholes in the alleys and things like that. We do that on a regular basis.
That's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
Because some of the alleys around town, there's more dirt than there's asphalt. I'm fortunate I've got enough potholes connected together to make asphalt, which is mostly all the alleys around are more patches than original. But I've seen some alleys around town that just more dirt and stuff. So if we can give it as much attention as we can. I know you guys work hard at it, but thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay, that's all I had, my comments. So item number 11, 2021 surface treatment. I just guess we did that one. Okay, I need to have a motion on that item, please.
Thank you.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Pokencourt? Councilmember Pokencourt, you may be on mute. All right, we'll come back to Councilmember Pokencourt. Councilmember Scrivener?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiggins?
Yes?
Mayor Pro Tem Davies?
Yes.
Mayor Smith?
Yes. Do you want to wait to see Councilmember Pokencourt, see if she's dropped off, or can you tell?
Looks like she's still there. Councilmember Pokencourt, you may still be on mute. Mayor Smith, are you okay if we move forward?
Let's go ahead and move forward. We will not have a final vote tally on that item until we get her vote, if that's okay. We'll go on to item number 12, active transportation program for Snyder Avenue Gap Closure Project. Jay Schlosser will now give the report. Jay?
Thank you, Mayor, Council members. The second item I have for you tonight is the Active Transportation Program Snyder Avenue Gap Closure Project award bid. More good news. In early 2020, the City of Tehachapi was awarded an ATP grant for the construction of additional curb, gutter, sidewalk, curb ramps, pedestrian crossings on Snyder between Tehachapi Boulevard and Valley Boulevard. We moved quickly on that project and were able to position ourselves for a bid of that project in April of this year. The bid results are tabulated in the staff report. You'll see again that we had an active bidding situation with good bid competition, which is again another sign that we're in a good bidding climate. And so we were very pleased as staff with the results. Feel like we got a fair number. In compliance with the contract code, we reviewed the bids that we received and concluded that the bid provided by R.C. Becker & Son has been deemed to be responsive. You may remember that name. That company constructed the park and ride for us and also constructed the Mill Street and Capitol Hills Parkway rehabilitation a few years ago. So we're familiar with this firm. Fiscally, this project was funded for up to $1.2 million in construction monies and $90,000 for construction administration. And so again, with a low bid of $840,000, we're well under that construction bid, and we're confident that the project budget is sufficient to complete the project in its entirety. This is a 100% grant program, and as such, it's fully funded, included in the adopted budget with no additional expected expense. And so therefore, my recommendation tonight is that you award the ATP Snyder Avenue Gap Closure Project to R.C. Becker & Son in the amount of $839,717.51, and authorize the city manager to approve any necessary change order up to the grant amount of $1,210,000, which leaves a very large change order budget. I will say to you that there are very good rules and strict rules in place for approving change orders under these grant programs. We're taking a look at the project for any places in which we can enhance the project that complies with all of the assurances that we make in this program. But because of that reason, we'd like to ask the council now for permission to have change orders up to the amount listed in the staff report, in case we can find some places to utilize some of this additional available money instead of giving it back to the state, which is the only other alternative. So that's my explanation for the abnormal change order budget that I'm requesting. There is also aerial photo of the project location, and that concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Were there any public comments?
There were 0 comments received by email and 0 by voicemail.
And would you please poll the council for comments?
Councilmember Pogencourt?
Yes, I'm just delighted that they're going to revamp this area. I think it'll look great. So I'm all for it. Anyway, thank you.
Councilmember Scrivener?
I'm also excited about this way to connect our community from north to south right there on that side of town. I think that was needed and missing, and so I'm thrilled that it's grant funded. I think it's a great project, and appreciate your explanation of the anomaly for the potential increase, but I'd love to see us utilize as much of those state funds for our community as we can. So I think that's smart.
Councilmember Wiggins?
Yay for 100% grants. This is wonderful.
Mayor Pro Tem Davies?
No, I'm excited about it. That's going to be a real improvement for that whole area, especially the children walking to the school and on that side of the street. I think it's a great thing. Thank you. Yes, and I'm for it.
Mayor Smith?
Ditto, or with what everyone else said, yes, I'm for it. Is there a way we could get some signage up one end or the other, or both, that tells the public how the project was funded? Just a little, in case people are curious, just like we do on the state highways. It says your tax dollars at work.
Yes, that's absolutely. Well, let me backtrack a little bit. I'm very confident that that is an allowable expense. Let me confirm with my staff, and I'll take that note here, Mayor, and see if we can add a sign, perhaps at both ends of the project, that clarify where the funding is coming from. Yeah, we're very pleased with the project. I'd also, we're making a big enhancement at D Street and Snyder there at the entrance to the back side of the JMS. And I know it's a little funky through there if you've ever driven through during a school time. We haven't had those in a year, but we're making a big improvement to that intersection. And I think you guys are going to be really pleased with the safety enhancements through there.
Yes, I think so too. All right. Before I take a vote on this, Councilmember Pogencourt, we couldn't hear your vote on the last item, number 11.
It's yes. I'm sorry. I pushed something.
That's all right. We just wanted it down for the record.
All righty. Thank you. I'm for being patient.
All right. For the record,
okay.
Mayor, on item 11, then it was a 5-0 vote to award the 2021 surface treatment of residential streets project to American Asphalt South Incorporated in the amount of $238,625.96, and authorize the city manager to approve any necessary change orders up to a maximum of 20% of the original contract, or $47,725.
Thank you. Now, I'll now take a motion to award the ATP Snyder Avenue Gap Closure Project to R.C. Becker & Son Incorporated in the amount of $839,717.51, and authorize the city manager to approve any necessary change orders up to the grant maximum of $1,210,000, or the delta of $370,282.49 for construction. Do I have a motion?
Mayor
I'll
Smith,
make
I'll
that
make the motion as presented. I think we're all racing to do it because we're so excited.
Yes.
I have a motion by
second.
Councilmember Scrivener
I'll second
And I
it, Councilman.
second.
and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Davies. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Pokencourt,
Yes.
Councilmember Scrivener,
Yes, and I will miss all of these fun little Zoom anomalies when we get back in person.
Councilmember Wiggins,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davies,
Yes.
Mayor Smith.
Yes.
It was a 5-0 vote to award the ATP Snyder Avenue Gap Closure Project to R.C. Becker and Son Incorporated in the amount of $839,717.51 and authorize the city manager to approve any necessary change orders up to the grant maximum of $1,210,000 or $370,282.49 for construction.
Okay, thank you all. That's everyone's smiling on that one. Item number 13, Program Supplement Agreement, number F as in Foxtrot 031, and a resolution for the Pinion Street paving project. Our Community Development Director, Jay Schlosser, will now give the report. Jay?
Thank you, Mayor. Council members, the third item that I have for you tonight, more good news. The Program Supplement Agreement, number FO31, to the Administering Agency State Master Agreement for Federal Aid Projects. I'll go ahead and skip all the numbering associated with those agreements and cut to the chase. This is, as the council, I believe, is aware, is on a reasonably regular basis, many of the programs in which we get grant funds for require a supplemental agreement to a master agreement that we have between the city and Caltrans relating to how we spend money that they send to us for grant-related projects. So tonight, that's what's occurring here. This is a required step to receive in this case, the preliminary engineering funds for the Pinion project that we've talked about before, extending Pinion Street from Brandon to Denison, utilizing the Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Program funds. So that agreement is attached. And again, this is a necessary step for us to, if we don't sign the agreement, we don't get the money. But we're happy to support utilizing the money for this purpose, and we therefore recommend that you adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign and execute Program Supplement Agreement number FO31 to administering Agency State Master Agreement number 09-5184F15, project number CML 5184038. That concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jay. Any public comments on this item?
There were 0 comments received by email and 0 by voicemail.
And please poll council for comments.
Councilmember Pokencourt,
Oh, I'm delighted. I think it'll cut down on some off-roading by students and others through that area and have a little more control, and it'll also help, at the school there as well. So I think it's a great project.
Councilmember Scrivener,
None for me.
Councilmember Wiggins,
It's just a wonderful project, and I'm glad we were able to find funding for it before some high school student rolls his pickup truck as he's racing down there. So, very happy.
Mayor Pro Tem Davies,
No, I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be a great addition to our city streets and to our neighborhoods. Thank you.
Mayor Smith,
I agree with all of the folks that have just spoken. Thank you all, and I vote yes also.
We haven't voted yet.
Phil, we'll need to get a motion.
I so move.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second since I already voted. I was reading my notes halfway down. Could you tell? All right. There's a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Pokencourt,
Yes.
Councilmember Scrivener,
Yes.
Councilmember Wiggins,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davies,
Yes.
Mayor Smith.
Bolded, italicized, underlined, yes. Thank you.
It was a 5-0 vote to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign and execute Program Supplement Agreement number F031 to Administering Agency's State Master Agreement number 09-5184F15, project number CML-5184038.
Thank you. Thank you all. City Manager's report. Greg?
Thank you, Mayor Smith. Two things this evening. We have a great agenda that we've just gone through. I'm very proud of the work that your department heads and the staff members have put together. You know, you just authorized several hundred thousands of dollars worth of projects, and very proud of the work that the staff puts into the research, the writing, and the processing of all of those projects, and then working with the state in regards to Senate bills and different things. So just really, really proud of what's going on and the relationship we have with the City Council. And then also the planning commissioners, even though Charles White, Steve Hamlin, Daryl Christensen are serving or ending up the 4-year terms, I'm encouraging them to reapply, and then also encouraging others in the community or the city that may want to participate in that, because it's a very important job. Also, as you may know, this week is Earth Week. I think Earth Day is actually on Thursday, but we've had several organizations, businesses, and nonprofits that have come forward, and they're cleaning up the city, picking up litter at all corners of the city. We've had Guardians Around the Earth, Miramar Realty, Salvation Army, Starbucks, Caltrans, Coldwell Banker Best Realty, and of course our City Public Works that manage litter and weeds every day. So I want to thank all of them for participating in that. So that's all I have for this evening, and if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer anything for you.
Thank you, Greg. Councilmember Bogencourt, anything for us tonight?
No, I kind of ditto what he said, and then I also noticed a big cleanup down 202 towards the institution in Bear Valley the other day. Lots of hard work. There were bags all over the place, and it looks so much better today than it did when I went down before. So keep up the good work, everybody.
Thank you, John. Councilmember Scribner, Christina?
No, thank you, though. Look forward to seeing you all in person soon.
Well, you would have seen me blush on the last one, so here we go. Thanks, Christina. Susan?
I just want to mention that I want to address the elephant in the room. Christina did kind of when she said she'll be glad when all these little Zoom problems are gone. We're moving forward, getting more and more freedoms to open things back up. I know that we have to be safe. I understand that, and I would not ever want to jeopardize anyone's health, but I do want to start looking forward to being able to meet in the future. Every 2 weeks, when we have 0 comments from the public and 0 comments from email, it kind of pains me because we're not doing anything wrong or anything, but we have no more public input or anything, and that's kind of sad. A couple of years ago, we did have some major problems, but those are all gone by the wayside. So I would just like to see us in the future, whenever that is, that we could actually go back to at least seeing each other in public. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Mayor Pro Tem Davies, Michael?
No, I have nothing tonight. I'm just very proud to be part of this organization and all the work that we've accomplished with the city, all employees, and everybody who takes pride in their job and in this town. How everybody takes pride in our communities and our little areas, and I really appreciate everybody's hard work. And that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. The only thing I had, we had a Kern Council of Governments meeting last Thursday. I attended online again. One of the things from the Caltrans report, I might have mentioned this earlier, but we have 4 cameras in the area now. One at Cache Creek, as you come up from Hobby, at Cameron Road, at the Summit, and at Broom Road. And if you go to Quick Maps on the Caltrans website, and then you can click the options when you're on Quick Maps, and you can choose several items under facilities, and you'll get a list of things to look at, like cameras, rest areas, incidents, road conditions, and you can click all the ones you want. And when you click on the camera at that location, I noticed that it does update, I think every minute or so, and you'll see at one point it's looking one direction and then the other time it's looking the other. But when it's snowing, or you know of an incident that's occurring, it's kind of handy to know. And if you go to Caltrans website, Quick Map, look at the options, click on the cameras, and you can see like CHP incidents. Like today when I was coming up from Bakersfield, there was a vehicle on fire just approaching the top of the Hart Flat area, fully engulfed. The fire department was there. And then I pulled over a little bit later, and when I got home, I clicked on the incident. It also gives you details of the incident. And I noticed one of the details was that the guy had ammo in the trunk. It was a little PT Cruiser. And they said, there's popping all over the place. So I guess his ammunition was going off. So it's kind of nice information to know if you're approaching the area. So anyway, that's all I have. So with that, I will now go into...
I have a comment, and I was just thinking about it. I've been in countries where they haven't done their telecommunication wiring well, and I think that's a very, very important topic that we should be on top of, because it can look pretty bad if it's not done properly. So that's a big concern for me. So just an added comment.
And what was that in other countries that you're talking about?
The telecommunication systems and wiring systems sometimes are not done aesthetically correct or with any kind of thought-provoking before they put them up, and it's really trashy, and it looks like an eyesore. So I think we need to stay on top of that as a whole and as our city, because it can look pretty bad if it's not done properly and tastefully.
I agree. That's kind of like what we were talking about on item 10, the 5G, all the hardware that they want to hang on a pole, just lash it up there and run the wire to the nearest transformer, and you're done, right? So
right, and it's ugly.
I'm with you, Joni.
Not done right. Yeah. So we need to be careful on that one, or proceed with caution.
Absolutely. Thank you. And with that, if there's anything else, we will go into closed session. And if there's anything to be reported, it will be done at the, you can, let's see here. Let me look at my notes. I'm looking at the agenda. For information regarding the outcome of the closed session, please contact Ashley Whitmore at 661-822-2200, extension 101.